So today I'm down at Mill Farm Fishery in Pulborough, and this is the same venue that myself and Darren came down to probably 2 or 3 weeks ago now, and we've done a bit of an old school versus new school, pretty much fishing for carp. Generally, I am a carp fisherman, that's what I fish for, and I haven't ever really done that much of any other aspect of fishing. But since I've been editing this channel, it's whet the appetite. I keep seeing Darren and Shane going out for all sorts of different fish, and it's made me want to get a little feeder set up and do something a little bit different. This is completely different to what I'm used to. I am completely out of my comfort zone, and so much so I went into the tackle shop yesterday with a tactic in mind of how I was going to fish today, and the guy was like, it's just not going to work. You need to do it this way. So thanks Simon for the advice. But today I'm doing a bit of perch fishing, and it's something that every single year I say, oh, I really want to go out, do a bit of perch fishing, and I just never get around to it. I haven't got the right kit. So this year, like I say, since I've been editing the channel and seeing different aspects of fishing, I've made sure that it's happening, and I've got myself a little feeder set up. Since going into the tackle shop yesterday, I'm using a float setup, and I don't think I've used a float for about 15 years. I've got a couple of pints of maggots, so I'm going to keep every so often just putting a little sprinkling in just to try and either get the silvers in or get the perch interested. And then I'm using king prawn on the hook, so I'm using quite a big hook. Again, I'll talk about all of this in a little bit, but I'm using quite a big hook to make sure that there's a good chance of setting the hook when it comes to it, when it comes to getting a bite, if that happens, if I'm lucky enough that that's going to happen. But yeah, I've literally just got myself set up, and we'll see how the day goes. So I've had the rod out for probably about an hour or so now, and it's getting absolutely nothing. I've been trickling in about every 10 minutes, just a little pinch of maggots, just trying to get the silvers in to then hopefully entice the perch in as well. And it wasn't doing anything at all in my left hand margin, so I've now moved it over to the right hand side. And since moving it over, there has been a little bit more activity. I've had a couple of little dips on the float, which is a really promising sign. Even if that is just silvers and they're just knocking into the line, causing it to dip, it means that there's something there. There's, whether it's perch or silvers, it doesn't really matter at the moment, because it's all about trying to build that swim, try and get the silvers in, so then the perch start coming in as well, and basically seeing what it's all about. They're coming in, trying to take small fish, and hopefully trying to take the prawn as well. That's kind of the theory. It's still early in the day, and to be honest, it's quite sunny, so it's probably not best conditions for the perch, but I think from about lunchtime it's meant to cloud over a little bit. So hopefully when it gets a little bit dark, a little bit gloomier, then hopefully we'll start seeing a little bit of action from the perch. So I feel like this morning is very much about trying to get the swim set up, trying to get a few fish into the swim, and then hopefully this afternoon going into darkness, hopefully that'll pay off. So I'll just quickly take you through why I've chosen the swim that I have. But as you can see behind me, there is a lot of snags here. Perch love snags, they love overhanging trees, things like that. This swim seemed a really good choice. So all the way down my left hand margin, I'll just walk along here, you've got all these snags which all go into the water. So there's loads of little hidey holes and things like that all the way through this. So that's down my left hand margin, and it's literally the same down my right hand margin as well. So it seemed a really good swim, like right in between a massive row of snags. And I've been lucky enough that I am actually the only one on the complex today. No one else here, so I've pretty much had pick of the swims. So yeah, this seemed a really good option. I'll just spin you around, then you can see that right hand margin as well. So there are, yeah, literally snags all the way along it, which it seemed a really good place to kind of try first. But I say try first because since I've been sitting here, I have noticed the swim directly opposite me looks very appealing. And I think if something doesn't happen in this swim by maybe about 1 o'clock, I think it's about 11 o'clock now, then I might move over that way for the afternoon. There's a big overhanging tree actually coming into the water, so it's very tempting to have a look over there and just see if that might be the better option. It's in a nice slack bit of water as well, so you've got wind running down this bit of the lake, you've got wind down the far side as well, but where that is on the corner, there's not actually any wind on that bit of water, so it might be a good area actually. I think what I might do, I might reel in here now, then let's go and have a quick wander over there and just have a have a look at that swim to see if it's something worth thinking about moving to a little bit later. So it's madness, like a complex like this, 3 different lakes to choose from, a nice sunny day, yeah it's a bit fresh but it's not even thermals weather, and the whole place is empty. There's the specimen lake for specimen carp, I think they go up to about £38. There's more of a runs water that myself and Darren were on a couple of weeks back, and then there's a more of a silvers lake, which is the one I'm on. I think it's called Hammer Pond. But I've got literally pick of the complex. There's no other angler here at all. So it just shows how worthwhile it is just getting out this time of year. Yeah, I haven't caught anything yet, but to be at a place like this with no one else around just because it's that little bit colder than usual, it's no brainer. Get yourself out there, because again it's a bit of a saying, isn't it, but there's always more chance when you've got a rod in the water than when you're sitting at home on the sofa. I know where I'd rather be. This is a swim that's been opposite me the whole time, and that looks amazing for perch. That looks really good. So I'm literally just over there, that's all my stuff. But both sides of this swim look very, very good. And just move round because there's another swim just the other side of the overhanging tree. Then move round to this, just see what this side looks like. Still quite appealing, but I do think this swim is probably the one. How good does that look? I'm moving. I know I said I'd give it till 1, but that swim looks amazing for perch. Big overhanging tree like that. I'd rather be set up in what I think is a better option for the rest of the day than getting back there, putting a rod out, not really feeling it, and then moving anyway. So I'm going to get my stuff round, and yeah, that swim looks good, that does. I'll have a rod out in half hour, not even that. Should have, maybe I should have gone there originally before setting up in that swim, but that swim looked good. It looks really good with the margins, how they are. Snags everywhere. But that one back there, I think that could be the swim that does it. So I've just got myself moved around to the new swim, and it actually looks really good for it. It's a lot darker, a lot dingier. It just feels a lot more perchy. So I'm quite pleased that I moved when I did, because it gives me the whole afternoon here that I'm nice and set up for when it does cloud over a little bit, when it starts getting a bit darker, because generally perch are dawn and dusk feeders. Obviously I miss dawn because I'm not very good at getting up early, but hopefully this time of year I can fish way into dusk, because obviously it gets dark at about 3ish or something at the moment. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty confident. It's a little bit deeper as well actually. It feels a bit deeper this side than it does on the other side. And then like I say, you've got the big overhanging trees. At the moment I've got my float just to the left hand side of the swim, but I'm going to keep constantly baiting up with a little pinch of maggots on both sides, so then if I see any kind of activity either side, then I can just move the float around accordingly. But yeah, it feels good. Well, the swim choice definitely paid off. That didn't take long at all. I've probably been in here for, I don't know, 20 minutes if that, and I've got a perch sulking in the net, and it's not a bad one either. It's got, it's hard to gauge perch sizes because I just don't know the fish, but it's a good one. Look at this. That is not bad at all. Well, how is that for a result? 20 minutes after a swim move, and the float just dipped under, and it just slowly slipped away and resulted in this. Now, I haven't come prepared at all. I haven't got any small scales, so I can't actually weigh this, but it doesn't really matter. I was coming hoping to catch a perch. Wouldn't have mattered if it was 6 ounces or £3. I just wanted to catch a perch, and I've done that. At a rough guess, maybe it's 2.5 pounds. I really don't know, but he is very, very cool, and the weight's kind of irrelevant really. I mean, he looks amazing in the sun. all the orange tips on the fins. Look how big the mouth is as well. That is insane. And then can we get the dorsal up? Oh, what a cool fish. And the fact it happened so soon as well makes me think that there could be chance of a couple more, especially as it starts getting a bit darker as well. I am made up with that. What a cool fish. Very cool. Let's get him back, get that prawn back out there, and hopefully we can have a couple more. So I've just slipped him back and I can't believe what a result that was. Like, I was hoping to get a perch, hoping to get something, but to have a proper one was very unexpected. I'm still looking that way because I have got the rod back in, but I'm not expecting anything to happen too soon because I'm guessing perch, like most other predators, are probably quite solitary. So I can't imagine a big group of them kind of just sitting around hanging out together. So I think the swim's probably a little bit dead for a little while, but I am going to persevere with the swim because I do think it's a good swim. Like I said earlier, there's a lot of good options, a lot of cover both sides, a lot of snags, and it feels a little bit deeper as well. It's a bit deeper, a bit darker, a bit grimier. It just feels like a little perch hideout. So I do think it could produce another fish a little bit later in the day, especially when that sun drops down a little bit as well. I think there is definitely a chance of another one. So what I'll do now, whilst it is a bit quiet, I will just whip it back in and I'll talk you through how I've set this up. Like I say, I am a complete novice when it comes to perch fishing, so this is all from advice from Simon at Aaron Angling, so thanks very much, Si, because I wouldn't have a clue if it wasn't for him. I was going to turn up with a running lead and just a big hook on the end and hope for the best, but because perch is so finicky, he said using a float and doing this method is going to work out a lot better, and obviously it has worked today. So yeah, really happy to have had one, and hopefully chance for one or two more. But at the top end I've got a little 1.6 gram float, and this float isn't actually attached to the line because I'm using little float stops, so they're little bits of elastic. So I've got one on the top, or rubber, sorry. I've got one on the top, got one a bit further down, and then a tiny one just covering the eye. And the idea of this is it makes it a lot easier to change the depth, so I can easily just slide it up and down the line according to what depth I want the float at. Now I'm actually fishing on the bottom, so finding the depth is a little bit different to how you would normally, because if you're float fishing normally you could use a plummet, you obviously hook that and then you can find the depth that way. But the way I'm fishing is I'm fishing on the bottom, and then I've got about 8 inches of line as well, so using a plummet won't work in the same way. So I've got a couple of SSG split shots here, so they're quite heavy split shots, and the idea is putting that into the water, your float will either disappear if it's not deep enough, because 2 SSGs are enough to sink this float, or if you've gone over depth, then it will just sit on its side. So the idea is you can balance it perfectly, so it's very slightly at an angle, and then you can take one of these split shot off, and then that's still enough to hold bottom. Where perch are such finicky feeders, that means that there is very little resistance for them picking up the prawn. Now, like you see, I've got a big old prawn on the end. I'm using a full king prawn, and that's just hooked through almost like the back of the prawn. It's a bit of a tougher area, and I haven't at any point today brought it in and not had a prawn on it, so that's really good. But I have actually, in the last couple of hours, I have kept both split shot on here. I haven't taken one off, and that is because the wind has picked up a little bit and there's a little bit more flow in the water. So obviously it is only a lake, it's not a river, but even so, with the wind picking up, I did find on a couple of occasions the float would slightly drift along. So I've put the other split shot on just so it's a little bit more weight there to hold the bottom, and that it has worked in that instance. I've then got down this end, I've got a size 6, sorry, hook. You need quite a big hook for obviously the prawn itself, but also you saw the mouth of that perch earlier. It's a massive mouth, so you want something fairly decent to actually take hold in there. And these hooks are actually they're designed for perch fishing. So again, went into the tackle shop, picked up a pack of size 6 carp hooks, and he was like, nah, don't want them. And that's purely because it is a size 6 carp hook has a lot thicker gauge, because generally you're fishing for bigger, heavier fish, so that way you need a stronger hook. Where you're fishing for perch, you don't need as thick a gauge, and because they do have really bony mouths, a thinner gauge is more likely to actually pull into the perch's mouth. I didn't know any of this, so like I say, I'm just passing on information that I've learned since talking to Si, and I mean, it makes perfect sense when you think about it. So that is all I'm using. Literally a size 6 hook, couple of split shot, and then float a bit further along. It's a super simple tactics, but unless you know, you wouldn't know, if that makes sense. So I'm going to get this back out there because it is looking good for a bite. So hopefully we can have another one before we go. So it's not just perch that like prawns, carp love them as well, and I was hoping I'd avoid them today because it has caused quite a bit of disruption in the swim, and the light is starting to fade a little bit now, and it seems the perfect time for catching perch. So I'm going to put him back in a different swim, and hopefully it hasn't caused too much of an issue in my one, and get that rod back out there, because like I say, light is fading and it is the prime time to be catching perch really. But it's another fish, isn't it? And yeah, it's all action, isn't it? It all counts. As much as I don't want to, I think I'm going to have to reel in, keep watching the float just behind the camera just in case. But it doesn't look like it on camera, but it is getting very, very dark, and this lake is actually only open till dusk, so I've chanced it a little bit. I need to get myself back around to the van and get out before the gates get locked. But it's been a really enjoyable day. Really enjoyed going for something different, something other than carp. I know I ended up with a carp, but it's really cool just fishing a completely different way, completely out of my comfort zone. And yeah, that perch that I had earlier just made it really. Completely unexpected. I'd hoped to catch a perch, but I had no idea I'd be catching one of that sort of size. So I'll definitely be back here to Mill Farm, and definitely back out perching again when I get 5 minutes and I can spare a little bit of time. But hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you have, then please subscribe to the channel so we can make more videos like this, and most importantly, thanks for watching it. It means a lot. So yeah, let us know any feedback in the comments. If you want things done differently, or if you're enjoying what you're seeing, definitely let us know so we can make this channel better and better as time goes on. But once again, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.